It's 2:37 a.m. The room is quiet except for the soft hum of a fan and the steady rhythm of your breathing. You shift slightly under the blanket, and that's when it happens. Your dog rolls over, right there beside you, or maybe right in front of you on the floor. They flip onto their back, legs loose, belly completely exposed, eyes half closed, but still watching you. You probably smile. Maybe you reach down and rub their stomach, because it's cute, right? You think your dog is just being playful, relaxed, maybe a little silly. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. What your dog is doing right now is one of the most complex expressions of trust, vulnerability, and communication in the animal world. And most owners have no idea. Let's start with the obvious explanation because it sounds reasonable. Your dog rolls on their back because they want a belly rub. Simple, logical, end of story. But here's the problem. If your dog just wanted physical pleasure, there are easier, safer ways to get it. They could nudge your hand, sit beside you, lean into your leg, lick your fingers, paw at you. All of those options keep them in control, upright, alert, ready to move if they need to. Rolling onto their back does the exact opposite. It exposes their most vulnerable area, their abdomen, where all their vital organs are. It limits their ability to react quickly. It removes their defensive advantage entirely. So, if this is just about comfort, why choose the position that makes them the most defenseless? And why do they do it specifically with you? Not with every stranger, not in every environment, not randomly throughout the day. So, why you? The answer isn't comfort, it's trust. But even that doesn't go far enough, because this behavior isn't just about feeling safe, it's about communicating safety. To understand this, we need to go into attachment theory. In 2015, researchers at Eötvös-Loránd University, led by Attila Andix, conducted a landmark study on dog-human bonding. They wanted to know something simple. Do dogs form attachment bonds with humans similar to the way infants bond with caregivers? So, they designed an experiment based on the strange situation test, originally used in human developmental psychology. Dogs were placed in a room with their owner, then briefly separated, and then reunited. And what they found was extraordinary. Over 65% of dogs showed secure attachment behaviors, seeking proximity, showing distress when separated, and calming quickly when reunited. That's nearly identical to human infants. But here's where it gets deeper. When dogs feel secure, when they know they're safe, they display behaviors that would otherwise be risky. Exploration, relaxation, and most importantly, vulnerability. Rolling onto their back is one of the clearest examples of this. When your dog exposes their belly, they are performing the single most fundamental behavior in attachment psychology. They are demonstrating earned safety. They are saying, "I trust you enough to be completely defenseless in your presence." They're not being cute. They're telling you something profound. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just psychology, it's chemistry. In 2015, a study published in Science by researchers at Azabu University and University of Tokyo discovered something remarkable. They measured oxytocin levels, the hormone associated with bonding, in both dogs and their owners. Here's what they did. Dogs and owners were placed in a room together. They interacted naturally, eye contact, petting, relaxed behavior. And what they found was extraordinary. After just 30 minutes, oxytocin levels increased by up to 130% in dogs and 300% in humans. Let that sink in. This is the same hormone released between mothers and infants. Now think about what happens when your dog rolls onto their back. You don't just look at them, you touch them, you rub their belly, you speak softly, your tone changes, your body relaxes. And that physical contact amplifies the oxytocin loop. It becomes a feedback system. Your dog signals vulnerability, leads to you respond with affection, leads to oxytocin rises, leads to trust, deepens, leads to behavior, repeats. And here's the key detail. This co-evolved specifically between dogs and humans over thousands of years. Wolves don't do this with humans, not in the same way, not with the same hormonal response. This only happens in domesticated dogs. And this is where it gets deep. Your dog rolling onto their back isn't just asking for affection. They're activating a biological system designed to strengthen your bond. So, when did this start? The answer is basically from the beginning. Over 15,000 years ago, long before agriculture, before cities, before written language, wolves began approaching human camps, not aggressively, not as predators, but cautiously, opportunistically. The less fearful wolves, the ones willing to tolerate human presence, had an advantage: more food, more survival. Over generations, those wolves changed. They became more social, more attuned to human cues, more capable of forming bonds. Archaeological evidence supports this. At a burial site in Bonn, Germany, dated to around 14,000 years ago, scientists found a human buried alongside a dog. But here's the detail that matters. The dog had signs of severe illness, canine distemper, that would have required weeks of human care to survive as long as it did. These weren't just working animals, they were family. And modern genetics confirms it. Studies from Harvard University and Uppsala University show that domestic dogs carry unique genetic variations linked to social bonding and reduced aggression, especially in regions associated with oxytocin regulation. Your dog isn't doing something random. They're expressing a behavior shaped across 15 millennia. Now, I want to tell you about a study that nobody talks about, because the finding seems impossible at first. Researchers at Mayo Clinic and Sleep Institutes in 2021 studied people who regularly slept near their dogs. They tracked sleep quality, movement, interruptions, and the data showed something surprising. People with dogs in their sleeping space experienced more fragmented sleep, about 20 to 30% more movement interruptions. So, logically, they should feel worse, more tired, less rested. But that's not what happened. Almost every participant reported feeling more emotionally secure, less anxious, and overall better rested. So, how is that possible? Because maybe your dog isn't ruining your sleep. Maybe they're restoring something more ancient than sleep, a sense of shared safety, a biological reassurance that you are not alone in the dark. And this is where it gets even deeper. In 2023, researchers at University of Lincoln studied heart rate variability, HRV, in dogs and their owners. HRV is a measure of how your nervous system responds to stress and relaxation. They monitored bonded pairs during calm interaction, and what they found was extraordinary. Dogs and their owners showed synchronized heart rate patterns. Their nervous systems were literally aligning. Cortisol levels, the stress hormone, also decreased in parallel. But here's the key detail. This only happened in bonded pairs. Strangers showed no synchronization, no alignment, no shared rhythm. This only happens when there is an established emotional bond. So, when your dog rolls onto their back near you, and you respond, you're not just interacting, you're syncing. There's one last thing I need to tell you, and it might be the most important part of this video. If your dog has been rolling onto their back regularly, seeking that interaction, and one day they suddenly stop, don't ignore it. Dogs are creatures of habit. When a deeply established behavior disappears overnight, there's always a reason. It could be environmental, a new pet, a new person, a change in routine. It could be physical, pain in the abdomen, joints, or spine, often before you see limping or stiffness. Or in older dogs, it could be cognitive decline. Studies suggest up to 35% of senior dogs show signs of canine cognitive dysfunction. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is how they speak. And when that language changes, you need to listen. So, the next time you're lying there at 2:37 a.m. and your dog rolls onto their back beside you, legs loose, belly exposed, completely vulnerable, remember what's actually happening. 15,000 years of evolution, a neurochemical loop built on oxytocin, an attachment system that mirrors the bond between parent and child, all pointing to one simple truth: being near you is the safest place in their world. And honestly, the science suggests it might be doing something for you too. If this changed how you see your dog, subscribe to Paw Flicks and drop a comment below. I want to know, where does your dog sleep tonight? And if you've ever wondered why your dog stares at you in silence, that's the next video. And the science behind it is even stranger than you think.